Hi friends, Tracy here from the Sewing Channel. Welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome. It's totally true. I made my grandchildren an epic playmat for my living room. What makes it so epic? Well, Mimi made it first of all, right? And I made it so that you can interchange the pieces to make it bigger or smaller. It's soft and totally washable. Enough talking already, let's get busy. Okay, so here's the deal. I had this foam, a couple of bolts of it in my stash. Now, why would I have all this foam in my stash? Well, it's because back in the day when we were making masks, the nose area needed a cushion, and this worked out perfectly. I had a ton of that. So we're going to use up all of my foam. And this is just 1/4 inch foam that you would use in purses or tabletop runners and whatnot. You can use the fusible or non-fusible. It doesn't matter because we're not really doing anything with that part. The other thing I'm using from my stash is this tricot type stretchy material. Now this is fusible. It has one smooth side and then it has a bumpy side where the glue is, where it fuses to whatever you're fusing it to. And it has some stretch in it. And that works because foam is, you know, stretchy and movable. And when the kids are crawling all over it, it's going to need to give. I end up using this one big piece over top of the foam and fusing that to the foam. This stuff right here, this was the best back in the day when we were making those masks. This right here is what we used for the filter inside the mask. It's dust and mold resistant and it's washable. Perfect for this. The foam is washable too, and so is this stretchy fusible interfacing. All this is polypropylene, and you can find this at Joann's, you can find it at Hobby Lobby, online. I'll put some links below for you so you can source it. I actually doubled mine up and went across the top of my foam with it, and I'll show you all that and how I did it. This also is tear resistant. You can't even tear it. I mean, you have to cut it in order to get it to separate. This is the sort of stuff that they put underneath couches as a dust cover underneath. That's what type of material this is. You know, it's usually stapled up underneath the couch or an ottoman. That helps give you an idea of what this actually is. And I have it in black and I have it in gray. These are both from Joann's, and one is called olefin and one is called cambric. They're identical, so no worries on that. If when you get your piece, you just need to check and make sure that it's water resistant and washable and tear free. So that's all you need to know about this. A while back, I did a video haul from Joann's and Hobby Lobby on this Dr. Seuss fabric that I had found. And here are a couple pieces of it in this mat. And I decided to use it in my epic playmat because once I really looked at it, they were cut kind of not square. There's a border around them, and I know that they're used for books and such. So since I couldn't end up getting it really square, I thought, I'm just gonna put it in a playmat. It'll work too. So that's what I ended up doing. So I had a panel and I cut these all out, and I believe I had 20 or so of these rectangles. This is the back, and this is the front. You can see here my foam and my cambric or olefin, my polypropylene sitting on top. That's in case I get a spill. I can easily just wipe it and it's not going to go through to the foam. I tested it. That's why I ended up putting double on. A little bit of perspiration went through on water on one layer. 2 layers, it was totally good. Now, I made it so there was a hem on both sides that I can take the foam out and totally just throw these in the washer, these covers. Think of it like a big pillowcase. And they're super easy to wash. So this foam comes 20 inches in width, and I cut it about 38 inches, I think. Yeah, about 38 inches long. So here's that stretchy fusible interfacing. And I'm going to lay the bumpy side down. On either side, it doesn't matter. Now, if you have a lot of this material on hand, you can do both sides if you want, but I only did one side for the amount of material and supplies that I had. So I cut this to fit roughly, you know, over that mat. I'm a little shy, but that's okay. And some will hang off because this right here, the fusible, comes off the roll about an inch or so wider than the foam, and that didn't matter because we're going to sew this on and you're not even going to know that. This fusible stretchable interfacing, once it's on the foam, it just gives it a little bit of extra added support as far as if something gets spilled or if someone, you know, spits up or something on it. If it by chance goes through the couple of filters and makes it to that, it still protects the foam. I don't know. I had it, so I used it. Does it work? Is it needed? Probably not. But since I have it, I'm going to fuse it to this foam. So it says to use a damp cloth over top of this when you're ironing it. And you know what? I'm just going to spray this down wet, and that's going to be my damp cloth. So then I'm just going to start pressing this onto this foam. I'm going to try and be quick here so that my mat does not get heated up through this foam. I don't think it will. You can see here that it's partially fused down. So I'll finish that up here. Now it's important to note here too that I'm just using up what I have in my stash. But if I were to make this and didn't have any of these items that I'm using over top of the foam, like the poly and this fusible interfacing, I would probably use like a waterproof type mattress cover and just cut it up and encase each foam in it. And that's an idea for you too, if you want to go that route. That's all fused down just on the one side. This is going to be the side that faces up on our playmat. You can see this has been folded twice. This is just how it came off the bolt. It's okay if it hangs over off the ends. Then I just flip it like this so that I can see this side, the back side. Kind of, you know, make sure that it's pretty much even all the way around here. And then I'm going to take some clips and clip up onto those sides. Now I'm just going to fold this up a little bit on the sides and clip that, and I'm also going to sew those down just so it covers all of, you know, the edges. I didn't do that on all of the individual play mats because I had cut them too short, but where I did go over a little bit like this, I did, you know, lift it over so the edge is all covered. Next, I'm going to take and sew right up to that edge right there all the way around. I did lengthen my stitches on this part of the project. So this is all it is, just this all tacked down on top of this foam. So if you do need to wash the foam as well, periodically, I would and I will, you can just pull it out and wash it. It's all washable. I mean, it doesn't get any easier, right? Let's set this aside and get busy making the Scrappy cover for our epic playmat. For this epic playmat, I chose to have just a bunch of different pretty colors that I had in my stash to be on the bottom, the part that sits on the floor of our cover. The back of my cover measures 40 inches by 21 inches. Each one of my mats ends up having 2 of these Dr. Seuss pieces in it as like a focal fabric. How I squared this wonky block up was I just kind of centered straight the words as I was looking at the words and then followed my squaring up around that. And you know, some of it came off on the sides, and then the other side, it was just a mess. But anyways, I digress. I don't typically pre-wash my fabrics on quilts, but I did on this playmat because my grandkids are sensitive to, you know, different things. So I washed everything in a clear laundry soap and with a clear bounce fabric softener. To build these blocks, all you're going to do is find some fabrics to sort of log cabin around this block. So if I started on the side here, I would just match those up, and you can see here I have some left, but I'm just going to go ahead and add this. Now I am going to press after each addition of fabric. Once that side is square, then you're going to go and find another piece. I tried to find really bright, colorful fabrics in my stash. There's a ton of orange in this Dr. Seuss stuff, so it was really easy to find some fabric that matched. It was very colorful. So I'm just going to add that on. Once you get that one on and everything is nicely pressed, find your mark where your seam was, line up over here somewhere. So there's that. Now let's add over here. So remember, we're doing a log cabin effect. So we're taking our focal piece, adding a piece of fabric here, adding down here. Now we'll add over here. So after I put these first two pieces on, I didn't really measure until I got to about right here. I want them to be about 21 inches square, and then I connect those two squares. So where was it? So this right here was about 21 inches square, and then this one was, and then I connected those two together. If you measure here, 21 inches would be 21 inches, and I would need this much more fabric. So let's see if this one makes the cut, and it totally does, which is awesome. So then I would just take these two and sew them together. And I tended to press away from the focal fabric. So I know that 21 is all I need, and I'm probably going to cut off a little bit in the end anyways. So I'm just going to go ahead and make them all 21 by 21 and then go from there. So I marked it with the pencil, and then I'm just going to line it up. Okay, so that's 21 inches there. Now we need to get this to 21. Oh, that's going to work perfectly. My word. Okay, so lift this up on, and you can pin if you like. I mean, this is just a scrappy project, so I didn't pin, you know, but if you're new and it helps you, or if it just helps you in general to keep things straight, then please pin. So let's go ahead and mark this way at the 21 mark. Let me give you a tip here why I did 21 by 21 on both of these pieces. Because at the time when I was doing the overall project, I wanted one of these little focal panels to go this way, horizontal, and then I wanted the other one to go vertical. I didn't know which was which at the time, so I just did them all 21 by 21 and then pieced them together that way and then cut off that little bit of excess. That just helped me not have a headache when I was trying to figure it all out. I'm going to go ahead and sew this panel up. So I finished this panel piece here up, and now I'm going to grab this panel piece and we're going to connect these together. Now this is why I said earlier why I had them at 21 by 21, because I figured out later how I wanted them to actually sit on each of the pads. So I wanted one going horizontal and one going vertical. So I think This placement is pretty good right here. The only thing that I'm looking at right at the moment is I'm going to have to cut some off at the end. And since this is the biggest piece right here in width wise, I'm going to swap these and see how this looks. Because this is the side that I'm going to be cutting off a little bit of extra off of. So that looks good to me. So I'm going to flip these right sides together, line these two pieces up, and sew them together. So I've already got this piece cut out. This is the backing. So I'm going to lay this out like so, and then just take my back piece and lay it down here. I'm going to square it up. So you can see there I've got probably, about almost a little over 1.5 inches there that I need to cut off, and that's okay with me. I don't care. It'll just go in my scrap bin. But if you know your exact measurements, you won't have to do that. But if not, you can do it like I did and fuss it up later and figure it out. Figure it out as you go. So I'm just going to trim this off right now while I'm here. Now this is the opening piece right here. This is the part where I said we're going to be able to take the foam in and out and such. So we need to take these ends and just like 1/4 of a quarter. I mean, even like 1/8 of 1/8. Like just tiny, super tiny, you're going to take and fold back about 1/8 here. And you can even press that out, because we want this edge to be nice and tucked in once everything is all put together. So what I'm going to do is just fold back just a tiny bit. And then I'm going to fold it back again. And then you're going to do it to the other side. Once you get those folded back, all you're going to do is come across about, I'm going to leave about 7 inches opening, but I'm going to stitch 7 inches only straight across there, making a top stitch on both of these pieces. Now I'm not going all the way across because I'll show you. You're probably wondering, why didn't she stitch all the way across that? Well, because you know me, I got to do everything different, right? And so these two should match up right there, and that's fine. Now we are going to open these up like that, and we're going to pin just like that, because we are going to sew that, and we are going to sew up in here, and then it'll just curl under, you know. But I'm going to pop a bunch of pins in here first. I had a bunch of ribbon, just random colors and whatnot, and so that's what I went with, all different colors on all the ties. They are just very random in color. And I went all the way from 1/2 inch up to 1 inch in ribbon width. My ribbons were approximately 9 inches in length. Since I wasn't sure at first how I was going to add the connectors on my mats, I waited to put my ties on till after I was done with the whole project, except for this one right here that I'm going to show you. So I'm going to leave the ties out as I sew around, but if I knew from the beginning how I was going to place these ties, I would have placed them inside so that the seam allowance took the end of the ribbon. But I'm not going to do that on this one just because I didn't do it on the rest. I ended up sewing them on the outside of the project. So that's how I'm going to sew this one. Start where you have that opening. You're going to back stitch right here. So 1/4 inch, all the way around. But remember on this one, you're going to start and sew. You're going to start sewing, lifting that up like so. Sew tucked in there 1/4 inch and follow all the way around. And then when that turns inside out or right side out, it's going to fall properly. Trust me. Once everything's all sewn up, turn it right side out. Be sure to poke out all of your corners too. Next, we're going to press by just pushing out all of the seams so that they lay nice and flat and there's no fabric tucked in. Once everything is all pressed out, then turn it on its back facing up and then fold it right in half. Now I went back and forth with how I was going to connect all these, and I decided on the ties because they were softer. I at first thought maybe cam snaps would work to connect these, but then I thought, well, if their little knees would go down on them, that would hurt on the knee. So I wanted everything to be super soft. So you just fold it in half and mark it here in the middle. Whoops, this pen, did it not work? There we go. You're going to mark the center backs on the sides here. My pen does not want to write. Oh boy. So my friction pen must be out, so I'll just mark it here with this marker, this erasable marker too. It erases with air and water and all kinds of stuff. So find the center and mark it. And we already know the ends, so we're not going to worry about that. Let me get the camera because I want you to see how I attached them. Since I didn't attach them in the seam, I still made it look nice and neat by attaching them this particular way I'm going to show you. So I come down just before the edge here, about 1/4 inch or so, and I want it to end up like this, with this pretty side facing up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start back here first with the pretty side of the ribbon facing up, and I'm going to sew across there. So I drop my needle here, so when I get to the bottom of this ribbon area, I'm going to keep my needle in and slide this ribbon this way so that it's covering over where I just sewed, and then I'm going to go back up that way and then release the needle. And I'm going to do that on all sides. So I'm going to flip it so the pretty side's looking at me. I'm looking at the back of the mat, lining it up right along the edge here, turning it so that my needle's going in right. When I get to the bottom there, I'm going to then lift my presser foot, lift this ribbon up and under and pull just enough to where it's underneath my presser foot. Lay it back down, and then I'm going to back stitch. Go back again and tie off. And you can see there, that's what that looks like. And then that raw edge just stays in there, you know. Here is one of the individual Playmat covers, and you can see it has the ties hanging off of it. Let's find our opening, which is right here. Let's fold in once and fold in twice. And then we're gonna just shove this in here. And that just kind of lays nice and flat in there. Really nice. It's just enough of a cushion too, I think. I even think batting would work in this as, you know, just like a floor throw or something. You can see it fits in there nice and snug. And right there, all water resistant and cleanable, and I love that part of it. How do they connect, right? Now, the way I would connect them, I wouldn't connect two colors together. That's the quilter in me, what can I say? So I would just find the centers here and connect like a bow. Now you are going to have a little bit of space in between here, but not much. Enough space to the point where you can actually just fold these up accordion style and set them aside when your grandkids aren't there. Because if you didn't have that space right there, things wouldn't fold up nicely. I love them. I think they turned out so cute. I know my grands are gonna love it. You can see here, folds just like an accordion. And even when they're all together, I mean, I had all the pieces together and folded them and unfolded them. Don't forget, be sure and check all the information in the description box just below this tutorial. That's where you can find all the goods at. Click on one of the videos that's on the screen right now so we can keep learning together. Until next time on the Sewing Channel, take care.